Hi, and welcome to our fourth episode of the Masters of Growth show, providing you strategic advice for conversion optimization, powered by Iridion. I'm super glad that André is back from vacation and joins us again for the podcast. Hi, André.
Hello.
And in pure remote style, we decided to mix up the locations even further. So I'm not in the office today. I'm at home, and André, you're in Berlin as of now. So in the time of this recording is published, you're probably somewhere else again.
Yes.
Mr. Jet Set. So, and one of the topics today is that we want to talk about optimization teams and optimization team structures. And one of the triggers for this conversation has been the recent writing of André's new book. Maybe you could give us a slight sneak preview of what this book will be about, and then we hop into our actual topic for today.
Yeah, so actually it's about implementing an optimization program inside the corporation. There are a lot of barriers that people are facing and that have to be solved. The most important ones are cultural and organizational. Also skills are missing, bottlenecks, so their bosses have to be convinced. So the new book will be about this stuff, not so much about tactical advice. Because I see most optimizers struggling with these topics, not so much with the color.
Yeah. So I think it's like somewhat due for sometime in the summer, if I call it correctly, for release, right?
Late summer, September.
Late summer. So
September, yes.
Yeah, we will probably pick it up one more time at least in the podcast, and maybe we even do a giveaway of a book. Who knows? Maybe this will happen. So this was when we recently started a discussion about a particular chapter you wrote about the team constellations in traditional organizations compared to product organizations, how they, what kind of skills and people do you need in there, how should they collaborate in this curated conversation, and we decided to just put it online. So maybe to give our listeners a brief introduction, like when we talk about traditional organizations and product organizations, what do we mean by that? What are key characteristics of those two organizational types?
Mm-hmm. I think, for me, what I call traditional organization is the classical siloed architecture of marketing and buying and IT and support and customer service, and somewhere there's an e-commerce team, and they call the online shop it's like one version of a real store, so it has an own team, but so nobody talks to each other. So there's a big battle about resources and nothing's moving forward. And actually you can't optimize in a team or in an organizational structure like this because you don't have all the people you need on one table, right? And optimization is a lot about agility, producing agile optimization sprints. So actually you can't do it. You could build a virtual team, for example, virtual optimization team that is cross-functional with members from all that silos. That's a big hurdle. Yeah. And so the other way is having a product organization. And I know you're a big product guy, but I'm very skeptical. I say cynical. I say product teams is the same, just the other way around. So you then again have silos, but just the product teams are like horizontal silos. They're cross-functional. They're much more agile, but still there's one product team that is working on the checkout, and one product team for registration, and one product team for listings page. So if you want to make optimization, sometimes you have to make contrasts. So you have to work with all these teams, but actually there will be an agile coach telling all these teams not to create friction between each other. So no, that's evil.
I mean, this is super interesting discussion. I recently heard Marty Kagan, who is one of the big product gurus of our time, and he said there's one question.
You're the product guru of our time.
Like he's getting old now, so he's about to retire, and I'm going to step into his footprints. And so he recently said at a meetup that he gets a lot of questions, and the most common question is how to cut product team. What's the right way to slice product teams across the whole product? And he's just said like there's no right answer for that. He hasn't found the right answer. So I also know a lot of constellations. People are saying like do it along the customer journey, like registration, onboarding, start page, engagement, conversion, checkout, whatever, or just do it via a business organization. So a lot of different perspectives how to do that. But I think the bigger problem then is that products today are becoming more modular, and teams become more autonomous to work on these products, but nevertheless, bigger complex products still have some dependencies to one each other, and so you have a lot of alignment going on to avoid, especially in the optimization context, avoiding counter effects of, for example, A/B tests being ran in one part of the product, right?
And additionally, I have the feeling that the usual frequency of optimization, which means you have to hypothesis, do the concept work, do the development, the QA, run the test. You know, if you're a good optimizer, you need a representative sample size. So even if you have a lot of traffic, you know that your test at least should run like 2 weeks. So this frequency does not actually fit to the usual release frequency of most product organizations. So for most agile product owners, to do A/B testing is something like, it takes like 4 weeks until I have results. No, I hate that. So this is why no matter if it's a traditional organization or a product organization, there will be some kind of optimization team or conversion manager, or management will point out somebody, maybe in the UX team, maybe in the marketing team, maybe somewhere else, and say, you're now responsible for doing A/B tests. So, and we want you to do a lot of A/B tests. And now this guy or girl will be in a real struggle, because actually nobody is there and said, oh, A/B tests, we waited for A/B tests since ages. Please, can we do even more A/B tests? We had nothing to do before. So both organization structures have advantages and disadvantages. Traditional, even more disadvantages, but product organization is not the holy grail that leads automatically into agile optimization.
Yeah, I recently just heard another example of an optimization growth team structure compared to the other product teams, and which is from Drift, which is a business chat tool. And they said they have their usual product teams located in Boston on the East Coast, and they have a dedicated growth team on the West Coast in San Francisco. And the head of growth recently entitled them they are like the SWAT team, right? So once the product team encounters a certain problem regarding churn or growth or conversion rate or conversion, they partner with them for a particular project, and then this SWAT team comes in and does their growth magic for a quarter or something.
But the problem then is ownership, isn't it? Because they're competing, so they won't like each other, because the guy that produces the uplifts is somebody that will say, wow, I made a couple of million. So everyone said, but that was my idea, or that's my product, or whatever. So competition and people automatically compete. Also a big problem. That's why I say, if you're the conversion manager guy, don't try to own the results, right? Give it to the people that had the idea. That's very important. Which
means you would have to add being humble to the skills list of successful optimizers in companies.
Yes, it's definitely in the book and in the list. On the list, be very humble. Conversion teams should be like enablers, or they should empower other teams to do more tests. It's always, for me, I think it's critical if they try to own the experiment and the results.
Yeah. Maybe it would be interesting to get your take on one thing, which I just wondered when you said the usual minimal test duration, for example, kind of interferes with the usual release cycles of standard product teams, assuming you do a 2-week sprint deployment cycle. What about companies like Netflix or Amazon or Booking, which are releasing, I think there are some numbers out there, 100 times per day, and they take off results immediately, after 1 day, maybe even, because the traffic's so high. What do you think of that? Is that a sufficient approach to this problem?
Yeah, and I think it's because Booking or Amazon, they reached the final stage of optimization maturity. They really managed to really implement optimization and A/B testing into the product teams. Maybe they forced the product guys to do it, or they have goals on experimentation, so they have to show that at least they made 30 experiments a quarter or whatever. I don't know, but I think that's a big advantage. And yes, if it's an incremental part of the product teams, you're able to deliver real speed of execution. I think there will be always a lot of friction. Actually, you have to start with a dedicated optimization team at the beginning, it will be maybe just one person, and then you create a virtual team, then maybe a real team, but then you realize you have to implement it into the team. So you will always have some frictions and barriers to overcome, and everybody should be aware about that journey and where it leads to.
Maybe a good analogy to draw here is that compared to mobile, so in the past years, it was when mobile became a thing that companies usually had a mobile team, a dedicated mobile team who took care of the apps or something, and then mobile started to spread as a responsibility, as a necessary skill to all the other teams in the company. And this one particular team was only taking care of the release cycle or whatever, and not specifically building any more features, but this responsibility was given to the single side section teams or whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think is traditional companies holding back from switching to even the product company organization is not the holy grail as we agreed on, but what's holding traditional companies back to take at least this first step towards a more mature organizational structure from an optimization perspective?
I mean, first, what holds them back? I think for most companies, it's a big, massive reorg project. So, of course, they are scared about the cost, about the risk. So, I see a lot of traditional companies doing this way of organization like since 20, 30 years. So, of course, it's a massive change for them. Some realize that they can start little and then change the organization step by step. But for most companies, it's a really, really big thing. I see companies starting, and I think that's a good thing about optimization. I see some companies learning what agile and cross-functional teams really can do when they start their first optimization team. So having an optimization team inside a traditional organization is kind of the prototype of a product team, right? And the advantage is that this team will data-driven produce results, positive results, uplift, growth, revenue. That's like the hardest currency in a company. So this gets an automatical buy-in, maybe even easier than if you say, give me 3 million euros and I do a reorg of the whole company. Maybe 30% of the good people will leave, but anyway, they have to leave. So I think it's a better way to start the buy-in with some positive feedback, and actually results from A/B testing can be a very important positive feedback if you do it the right way.
Yeah, I see. Thinking about the first optimization or growth team a company should set up independent of whether they're a traditional or a product organization yet. What are, from your perspectives, what would be the perfect team setup? What kind of skills, what kind of mindset people would you add to your optimization team to set it up for high success?
So first of all, of course, you need somebody, we call it conversion manager. So somebody who actually leads the whole program and sets up the process and is responsible for the process actually to run. Sometimes it's only a conversion manager, so he or she has to acquire resources from other teams to work properly. And I say that this conversion manager job is a leadership job. So it's not a conversion skills are good. So knowing something about A/B testing, statistics, data, technology helps. But most important is be a good leader, because you have to manage all your stakeholders. You have to make decisions that some people don't like. You have to push people out of their comfort zone, being more agile, daring to risk something they didn't try before, and things like that. So this is why the core conversion manager is like the center of all that optimization effort. So I would really try to find somebody good in leadership skills there. And of course, then you need somebody who's able to analyze your website, find points for improvement. So somebody who's good at user research or website evaluation, UX, consumer psychology. So these are the the typical skills you need for qualitative analysis.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you need somebody who's good in data, doing A/B tests, analyzing the test statistics, looking at your web analytics tool. And it's also good to separate the qualitative and the quantitative people. They work close together on optimization, but the person that made the concept shouldn't be the same person that will analyze the test result. Otherwise, you end up with confirmation bias problems, right? So, exactly. And then you need, of course, you need somebody who builds A/B tests, some development, some development. Developers. No, big bottleneck, developers. But yeah, actually, somebody has to set up the A/B test. But for me, this is like the minimal viable optimization team, data analytics, qualitative analysis, user research, UX, development, and this led by one optimization manager or conversion manager.
Yeah. You just touched on the necessary soft skills for the conversion manager, like having a strong leadership approach and also being able to know how to lead others without formal authority. So like a lateral leadership relationship. What on the hard skills side, what would you ask for the conversion manager to bring in? Like certain experience regarding A/B testing optimization at a certain level, or what would you look for?
About lateral leadership, I recommend reading a book. There was something, I don't know.
Not out yet. Don't do it.
So, hard skills of conversion managers, I think, to know about quantitative market research and know things about statistics and business. So actually, the job of the conversion manager, optimization manager, is to use the results from an experiment and actually sell them inside the company with the economic impact they have. So if this person does not understand the effects and the intersection between customer experience and economical effect. So what happens with my EBIT of my company if I have a A/B test that runs for 2 weeks and has a 10% uplift in revenue per visitor? What does it mean? So stupid optimizers tell, oh, you have 10% more revenue, right? And actually management will wait for the effect, say it doesn't come, don't believe anything anymore. And so their impact of optimization on economic or business impact is zero. And that's also wrong. It's not 10, it's not 0, it's somewhere in between. And this is a hard skill that every conversion manager needs. Understand the effects at the intersection between customer experience and, let's say, EBIT.
Yeah, because just to make it clear that this role is not just a normal project manager, it's really someone who needs to relate to the art of conversion optimization, who knows like also one thing or two about best practices, because he or she should also be able to challenge the domain experts on their team, like the qualitative researcher, the quantitative researcher, also the developers of the UX side, and not just bluntly accept the results they bring them.
And what I see a lot is when you don't get that knowledge right about customer experience and economical or business impact, an often made mistake is to produce a lot of small A/B tests. What's the problem? They focus on agility and speed and do small things. Small things don't push the needle forward, so they won't be able to showcase the economical effect, which is not good for the buy-in of the program. So that's why at konversionsKRAFT we have a different approach. We think for the start of a program, you need to deliver good results to get the buy-in. So you need to produce bold changes with strong hypothesis, which actually is a lot of work and needs a lot of experience. What you don't have at the beginning, right? So this is one problem that you need to solve as a conversion manager.
Yeah. Yes, interesting. So to sum it up, perfect team setup would be conversion manager with strong leadership skills, also, and needs to work at the intersection of qualitative, quantitative research, and also from a business perspective in order to calculate the actual ROI of their efforts to justify the team and the work they're doing. You need someone covering the quantitative data side, so a data analyst or BI analyst, whatever you want to call it. And you need someone from the qualitative user research side who's also able to come up with some good, what did you say, UX concepts with a high contrast, behavioral contrast.
Bold changes.
Bold, right. You maybe need to add probably only temporary someone who really do the final visual design of, if you want to do a big change. I mean, you probably someone to push the pixels around a bit better. And then, of course, you need some engineering power to get those things into the product and out there, and wait for the results after at least 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it needs some, how do you say, you need an endurance. Is that the right word? So sometimes it takes some time.
I think the fancy word is grit. People say
grit.
Grit
yes.
and persistence.
Okay. Hustle.
Hustle. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sometimes people expect big uplifts in the first 1, 2, 3 experiments, and yeah, a lot of times it doesn't happen. But management people, they have different mindsets. I realized they realized you need big changes that lead to big results. So, and optimization is a job of incremental optimization, and sometimes the mind of your boss can't imagine that a lot of these small changes will lead to actually big results.
Yeah.
So that's why I talk about the art of selling your results towards the C-level.
Yeah. Maybe one last question in the realm of optimization teams for people who are listening to us and now wondering how they can set up the optimization teams. Based on your experience, should people look inside their companies for existing people to get them on board or get buy-in from them? Like, hey, do you want to get into conversion optimization, or should they look for outside hires right away?
I think it depends on the talents you have in your companies. So a big advantage of somebody that you hire from the inside is that these people already know the company, but this could also be a big disadvantage. So you know that there's sometimes this little fights between departments. So you need somebody who's really connecting people together. So if you can find this person inside your organization, perfect.
Yeah, maybe it's a mix. Maybe it's someone, maybe for the conversion manager position, someone who knows the company, who knows the political game, who knows who to get on board. And maybe you need on the execution side people from the outside, which are way more open-minded, still trying things which have been considered a failure otherwise. Yeah.
Because actually, the goal of optimization is to leave your comfort zone, right? Yeah. So you challenge what works and what not every time. So this is outside your comfort zone. If you have somebody inside your organization that knows how to leave the comfort zone, brilliant.
Yeah.
Usually, I don't expect that.
They don't, especially when they're in the company for like 5+ years or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. So that's it for this episode. Lots of wisdom and exchange of thoughts around optimization teams. I hope our listeners get a lot of value out of that. If you have any questions regarding how to set up optimization team, just reach out to us and we will definitely connect you with the right people. And if you have any questions around conversion optimization you would like us to discuss in the next episode, send them to us at Twitter, or use the intercom chat on iridion.com, or simply leave a 5-star review for the podcast and add your question in there, and we will discuss it in one of the next episodes. So with that, thanks for listening, and talk to you in the next episode. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.